Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of No Butts About It. I'm your host, Josh Butts, sitting in my dining room in Indiana. Chus is in his basement in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we have DoseofDion back to talk about the Lions. And they've been in the news a lot lately, some good, some bad, lots of controversy surrounding the Detroit Lions, but that's why we have Dion here to kind of help us out. So, how are you doing today, Dion?
Man, I'm glad I'm happy to be back, man. I'm glad that you had me back on. That means the first one wasn't a disaster. Man, hey, look, man, I'm happy to be here. This is one of those things. It's like therapy to talk about this. Like I tell myself I don't want to talk about it, I want to move on. But at the same time, when you're like, hey, we might talk about the officiating, I'm like, all right, I'm pretty fired up to talk about the officiating. So I'm happy to be back, man. Thanks for giving me this platform.
Oh yeah, we are going to talk about the officiating, and I watched your video, your initial reaction to that Lions Cowboys game, and you said, "I don't want to talk about the officiating. We haven't talked about the officiating," and I was like, "You're going to talk about the officiating on my show."
Yes, we do.
So
Yes, we will. Thank you.
first, first, before we get into the officiating, can you kind of like give me and Chus your perspective of that final 2 point conversion play pass to Decker that should have maybe won the Lions that game, but instead ensued in the most chaotic, penalty driven end of a game we've seen all year.
Yeah, I mean, this was a play that we've seen, maybe not exactly like this. We've seen the Lions run this kind of thing in the past, and I think it made a ton of sense against this Dallas team. I was going through this game again last night, specifically the red zone spots that we were in. And Dallas is a team that, man, they're extremely man heavy, as we know, especially when you get to those spots. So to me, it makes a ton of sense because, the best way to just not, because it was hard. We weren't getting guys completely wide open in this game. They're very good in coverage. They switch man really well. So for us, I thought the best thing about that play was that you just don't have anybody covering him. Like, you don't expect to cover that guy. So the best way to get someone wide open when the field is so condensed, just confuse them defensively and just throw it to the offensive tackle. So I thought the play made a ton of sense. And then, of course, we're about to talk about the officiating. Obviously, they called him ineligible on the play, but they did get him wide open. So the play was smart. We've done something like it before. It's worked in the past. I can remember back a couple years ago when, we played Seattle. I think it was on the road and we did a similar type of thing. So, we've seen it before. I've never seen it get called back necessarily, but it's worked before, and it should have worked there.
So the play, I mean, that would have won you the game. What was kind of your reaction? We went from, okay, they got the 2 point conversion. Okay, they're calling it back. Now they're probably going to kick it, right? No, we're going to go for it again. Another penalty on the Cowboys, so you get closer. Okay, let's kick it again. And Dan Campbell, the head coach, has come out and said, I don't know if you've seen his radio interview, but he came out and said, no, don't be nice to me. If you think it was a stupid decision, tell me it was a stupid decision. But like, what were your kind of in that moment watching that? What were your emotions?
Yeah, in the moment was definitely different than when I stepped back from it. In the moment, I was just saying, man, take the extra point. And it was one, I guess in a way it's kind of a two-sided thing for me. One side is like, okay, I understand why you want to end it, especially if you feel like the officiating's been crazy. It's like, let's not continue this game, let's just get out of here. But at the same time, in the moment, I wanted to take the extra point because I thought we had created movement offensively. We were able to run the football. I thought we'd be able to go win in overtime. So I was like, let's just play another quarter. I think we're better than this team. Let's go end it that way. Let's not kind of do this, whatever we're doing right here. However, I think when I step back, I have to take it, and you may have heard me say this before, but I look at it from a bigger, view than just that specific play, right? You can question him going for two over and over. I would also say that they had guys open on every single 2 point play. The last one, not as much. But at the same time, I think when you look at it from a whole view, I can't question Dan Campbell's decision making there because what Dan Campbell's aggressiveness has been, and not just like aggressiveness, like not thinking, because I think that's the narrative that can get painted to him is like he's just not thinking, he's just aggressive no matter what. But that's not true. I mean, we've seen games where at times, he punts it away or he pulls back based on how the game is going. But I think for him, his aggressiveness leading to the belief in all of his players is, I think, what has gotten the Lions to where they are. I mean, he's done things that it's crazy, but, the stat still stands out to me. I mean, we've never won 20 games in a 2-season span. That's unreal. So the fact that Dan Campbell's doing things like that, which is just different than what we've ever seen as Lions fans, it pulls back to, I think, the belief he's getting out of his guys, whether that's golf and clutch moments. There's no hesitancy, there's no questions, and everybody just expects to go make it happen. So when he tells you that, you're going to go do that. It almost kind of ties back to what they said, I think a week ago when he said, we're playing the starters this weekend. And then it's like, all right, well, man, we're going to need a lot to happen to even move up. What's the point? But it's like, well, he told him that. So he's playing the starters because he tells him straight up, and there's not going to be any pullback because he's worried about something. Because I think when you get that, that's when players start thinking about it. And that's how he gets full confidence out of these players and the coaching staff. So, in the moment, I wanted to take the extra point, but looking back, I have no issue with it.
Okay. Chus, did you have anything to add? Any questions?
Yeah, I mean, with that penalty during that 2-point conversion, obviously, how did you feel with that call from the referees? Do you think it was kind of like a BS call? Do you think there should be changes in some officiating, maybe like some changes in the rule book? Like what is going on in your head as a Lions fan going forward after that like play that occurred with the mess up on the 2-point conversion? Because I definitely should have, because I was there watching the game with a friend of mine, and it was another friend of ours' birthday, and we were watching the game, and I kid you not, so my championship fantasy football team had 3 Lions players on it, and it had David Montgomery, Amon-Ra, and Laporta. So I was like really like just zoning in on the Lions to win, and obviously like from a Steelers fan, like I'm not a Cowboys fan. I can't root for the Cowboys. There's too much just dislike there. And, rooting for the Lions, and Alvarado has been a honorary rookie Lions fan this season. So, obviously rooting for them to win. We were so happy when they got the 2-point. We got mad when it was called back and all of the crap that happened. And we like everybody that was watching the game, like not even just us, were just like so disappointed. So, and we felt that like the refs kind of like screwed it over a little bit, but like from a Lions fan's perspective, like what do you think needs changed, if anything at all?
Yeah, I mean, I'll start here first. I don't think anybody likes the Cowboys unless you're a Cowboys fan. So I think nobody roots for. There's not like a fan out there that's like, man, my Cowboys and my second team. Like, no, they're not. No, they're not. They're second to bottom on everybody. Here's the thing, man. For me, with this, and this is kind of picking up for where I left off with the video. I know Josh said that he saw this, but just to add more to this, my issue with the officiating is never really the holding calls. I mean, there's times where I'm frustrated, like every fan is, like, oh, how'd you miss that one? But there's a lot of those things that can be like small and back and forth. My issue with the officiating stems back to they leave so many things up for inconsistencies to be okay, but then they don't change anything. Like there's real rules that could be put in place so that some calls that you kind of just seemingly leave up to fate for some reason shouldn't be that way because they've been this way for the whole time. So I started just listing examples from this last game, but then I also take it back. Like I think if we go back and, as Lions fans, we know this well, but I go back to a play. We played Atlanta and it was Golden Tate. He scores. Final play of the game, we're like, man, we won the football game, right? They call him in the end zone. Then they go back and review it, and they say, no, he's short. So because they reviewed it and said he's short because essentially they called it wrong on the field, they said we need to have a runoff. So they ran the clock out and we'd lose the football game. Those kind of examples make me mad because it's like, hold up, y'all got it wrong. Why do we have a 10-second run? Because you call him short, we can go up there and snap it again. You guys just called it wrong, so the game's over. And that's the issue that I have is, you also saw in this game outside of that play, we're called for illegal contact on one of them, but 2 times Dak Prescott just throws it right over the receiver. Not even close. I mean, he's 30, 40 yards past the receiver. And there's no intentional grounding. And I wouldn't be mad at that if I've never seen that called grounding. But because this year I've seen that play happen, and I've seen them get called for grounding because he's just standing in the pocket throwing it to nobody, I'm like, where's the difference here? He's doing the same thing. He does it twice. So it's things like that. Obviously, you can talk about, well, he ran into the punt returner. They didn't throw anything there either. But it's just like leaving delay of games up to chance for some reason. Why don't we have some sort of system in place where when it hits 0, immediately you're triggered, hit 0, throw a flag. Instead of like, let's look down and see if, like, what. That doesn't make any sense. Why would we leave that up to chance still? There's no reason it should be that way. So for this one, this is a weird one because, like, they always just find new ways, it feels like. But this is a weird one because I don't know how you fit. Like, the fact that the NFL put out the video of basically how to report eligible is the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. Like they used to give us apologies. They used to come out and be like, man, we apologize. It was wrong. We missed this. And it was like, dang, as Lions fan, they're not going to change the win. So we're still mad. But this time they're like, no, hold up. Y'all need to watch this video. Like, are you serious right now? That's what you're going to give us? So that's where I'm upset with this one because I don't really know what to say about it. I mean, obviously we don't get the audio from it, but whether we want to talk about, okay, and I'll just go right here, right now. I don't know if you guys were going to ask about this, like, is this legal formation or whatnot? first off, it's going to be a legal formation because you could hear the broadcast saying, "Man, this is a legal formation." You could throw all these things. It's not a legal formation if Decker's eligible. He has to be uncovered because there has to be one guy on the ball on each side of the field. So there's that side of it, but it seemed like what the Lions try to do, and we've seen teams do this in the past, they have multiple guys go out there, and they have their jumbo, offensive linemen go out there as well to play that sixth offensive lineman role, but they almost don't want them to hear it. Though they announced it wrong on the speaker. They said Dan Skipper was eligible. Lions don't have a timeout, so even if they hear that, they can't be like, well, let's just take a delay of game. Can't just take a delay of game. They get it wrong. You're trying to have the defense not hear, and it worked because the defense clearly didn't hear because no one covered Taylor Decker, but at the same time, I guess they thought that Dan Skipper was eligible. So I don't know. It's more so just about the inconsistent things to me that we see every week. And the officiating in the NFL, I think, is just absolutely terrible in spots this year. And I don't know how you fix it. Only thing I could think of is maybe that's, a full-time officiating. Like that seems to make the most sense. Maybe get some of these dudes off TV that are getting paid a ton of money and like, hey, man, they're paying you more to be there than actually officiate the game. We have money. It's the NFL. All right. They're making tons of money. Let's just pay the officials and get this thing figured out. So that to me seems to make the most sense. But yeah, I don't know. It's like they're okay with just having issues. So I don't really bank on them changing anything.
So 2 things. Did you watch the video that they put out about, did you actually watch it?
I watched a couple of seconds. I turned it off. I'll be honest. I didn't watch the whole thing.
My favorite part of the video is they showed the thing of Decker walking up to the ref. But then when they talk about the formations and stuff, they still circle Skipper as the eligible receiver. So they showed Decker reporting in the video that the NFL put out and then proceed to just gaslight Lions fans. I don't know. And I was very confused about this whole thing. Because I was like, I don't think he was eligible because I thought, was it Reynolds who was lined up next to him? I thought he was covering him, but then I saw a different angle and it was like, no, he's all right. We're all good here. Decker's eligible as a receiver if he reported, which then it looked like he did. And Skipper wasn't even the guy who walked up with Decker to report because there were 2 guys there, but it looked like Skipper just kind of walked by the ref and said hi or something, but didn't say anything else. If they were Penei Sewell, I think it was Penei Sewell who was with him.
Yep, Sewell was right with him.
It was hey, this guy reported. It would be okay, they're both standing there, makes sense. But no, they picked another random guy.
Yeah, Skipper's running over late in the play, and I guess, and Dan Campbell, the way that he explained it after the game as well, it was that simple, right? I mean, we had Decker report. They said that Skipper reported. So I don't know if he was just confused or what happened. And that's the only thing. It's really just that simple, right? I mean, you just had the wrong guy basically on the play, and I guess that's where it goes down. But the more frustrating thing is where Dan Campbell tells you that before the game we laid out that this is one of our plays that we'll run, and then we still have it wrong. And you can see Dan Campbell, he was frustrated on the sideline because he made it kind of feel like for sure, maybe he was joking. Maybe he did report and he's like, dang, I messed up there. Let me really sell this. But he was frustrated, man, because he was like, yo, I did not report. So yeah, I guess it was just that simple. It's a simple little thing, I guess, but I don't know. Cost a lot.
Do you think, so you mentioned full-time reffing, do you think ref grades would help? Because you talked about getting guys out of the broadcast booth who had been refs before, but I don't think Gene Steratore is going to want to come back and ref again and officiate after all the hell the refs kind of get these days. And he's sitting up in his cushy booth only having to talk 3 or 4 times a game. But I mean, ref grades, something where hey, this is what this team graded you, and get them like right after the game, but then also maybe a week later or so that like emotions are out of it or less so out of it. But also like if you get below a certain grade, because Brad Allen, the officiating head official who was on this game, he is notorious for having bad calls. And I know Bengals fans hate Ron Tolbert, who is another head official, because he has blown so many calls for Bengals games, such as the Logan Wilson holding call that was not holding in the Super Bowl. But
Ring the pit boy, baby. Ring the pit boy. Aaron Donald. I still feel bad for T-Boy. Go ahead, though.
Getting these guys graded, and if they're below a certain grade, they have to go back. Because the only thing I know about Brad Allen is he looks like Charles from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and he's bad at officiating. That should not be the two things that I know about him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I mean, the only thing I could think of, man, if you're getting paid right, like, you'll do it. Like, like, if I'm getting paid the right money to be out here, like, if I'm getting paid good, I don't care about none of the, scrutiny that comes with some of the missed calls that people may think that I have, because I'm getting paid right for this. But, yeah, I mean, when you also look at, this whole Brad, I mean, he's doing another big game, another playoff implication game again this weekend. And remember, the initial report was, he's probably not going to get a playoff game. So it's like, okay, at least maybe they're pulling back on it a little bit, because when you have things like this, there has to be some sort of consequence. Like, there has to be, like, okay, we're not giving him this game, or maybe he's off. I don't know. But then all of a sudden you put him in a playoff implication game. It's like, wait a minute, why would you put him in that spot? So it's like, can you not find officials? And if you can't find officials, man, you better raise that pay, because it should be easy to find officials with the NFL. Like, pay these dudes so that way you can find guys that are willing to do this, I guess. I don't know if that's the issue or what. I don't know. But I think that makes sense. Maybe like a little grade system. I mean, in the moment, to your point, if you did it right away, every team would probably hate the officials. So it may not be great. Everybody's giving Fs out. But, yeah, I mean, maybe that's something that the league, because I feel like a lot of times the league will come out and say, we had this wrong, right? So maybe the league can almost just do their own grading system, which is why this one feels so weird, because if Taylor Decker did report as eligible, then why are you putting this video out there? Because at least if you just said, hey, we were wrong on this one, then you could come back and now you got a legit grade, because, like, he was wrong. All right, well, knock him for that. But if you're, like, trying to, like, no, he was wrong, he was right. They love Brad Allen. He's got something I don't know. All right, Brad Allen's doing something off the scenes that we don't know. But the thing is, man, so I don't know. I like that. I like the grade thing. Maybe from the NFL kind of deal. That way the teams aren't just all upset about it, because I know teams send in, like, questions about certain things. But yeah, I think it makes sense. Something needs to change, whatever that is.
It's been the conversation every week.
Yeah.
Browns Colts, Bengals Chiefs, Lions Cowboys. Like, all of these are big games that have.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm sure there's a Steelers game too that it's happened to that I'm not.
Well, and I think this year it's gone a lot more in our favor than against us, because our games have been so low scoring that, like, we'll be up like 24, 16 or not. No, I think that's a little too generous. 16-10. We'll be up like 16-10. And
Yeah.
like at the end of the game, they'll call something on like whatever team, and then it'll be like Steelers win the game because of this call. So we haven't really faced it, but I know that it's probably affected other teams this year, which I guess I'm not that thankful for in the outside way of looking at it, but in the inside internal way for the Steelers, love in me. I'm thankful for it, I guess, but I mean, it's going to come back to haunt me one day. So,
well, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
you got something for the Steelers. Let them know.
The Steelers fans are suddenly admitting that they're favored by the refs. Was all I was going to say.
No. There's definitely been years. I will say during that during the Killer Bees era, there was definitely some rough calls. I mean, that catch. I'm not talking about that like Patriots catch necessarily, because that like took the world by storm. When it was, I think it was, I want to say it was like Vance McDonald at that year, or whoever it was, but like it was like it was like so close to the end zone. And if he would have gotten the touchdown, it was Jesse James. It was Jesse James.
Yeah.
If he would have gotten that touchdown,
yeah.
we would have beaten the Patriots and gotten like the 1 seed or something, or one of the buys. But I'm not necessarily talking about that, but like we've definitely had our fair share of getting screwed at points during those eras. So I'm not as bothered with being favored a little bit now, but even then I think we'll all be favored at some point, I guess, down the line, because listen, I think Detroit's in a perfect position to have a golden boy. I'm sure Josh, the Bengals, will be in a perfect position to have a golden boy, just like, with Kansas City. You think about Kansas City a little bit, now I'm starting to throw out conspiracies and all of that, let's get away from all of that, I guess. But yeah, Kansas City's still.
The refs sold their soul to Taylor Swift.
Oh my.
Yeah, well, that's something.
Dion, what were you gonna say?
Look, no, only thing I was gonna say is because like you're bringing up just games from this year. It's like bad when I could just come up with random examples top of my head. Like immediately came to my mind, Green Bay, Kansas City. Now I understand I'm not ever rooting for Green Bay, right? And so I had to be rooting for Kansas City in that one. But still, like the obvious PI that they missed at the end of that game, I was like, wait, what? So, and look, and again, the issue that I have is not always like these in between calls because sometimes, they're just tough on the fly. And I don't know why they took away reviewing anything. I understand they weren't overturning any PIs. I would bring that back. I'm cool with the game slowing down. If we got review, let's just get the dang thing right. I'm fine with that. But I guess then it would also take them also understanding what rules are, like what is a catch. That's still something it seems like we're trying to figure that out. But I guess to our man's point right there. But then it's like you can see it at, you're happy when your team gets it right, like, and it goes in their favor. But I can still, as a Lions fan, see times where their team is like, dang, that was pretty bad. Obviously, a lot of it comes like roughing calls, but then there's also, like, again, the delay of game kind of thing where I saw earlier this year, this is the example, earlier this year, the Lions, there was like a half-second difference. So they let the clock run and they said nothing. There was like, all right, we're going to end the quarter or whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. Next time we do it, they threw a flag. Like, wait a minute, we got away with this last time. And then in this game, you saw, I think it was Dallas that tried to do it. They get called with a flag. So that's where it's like, all right, I can understand how there's confusion here because I wouldn't be surprised if early in the year Dallas didn't have this called against them, and all of a sudden they do. So that's the most frustrating thing because there's certain things that could be better processed, and they just don't have any answers for some reason. And they'd be easy things to fix.
Yeah.
Speaking about Packers, though, real quick, I know that Josh, you sent me this clip a couple of weeks ago, back in November or whatever. We played when we played the Packers, and you remember when Kenny Pickett threw that like backwards pass to Jalen Warren? They called it an incomplete pass, and it probably should have been a fumble.
Yes.
So
I know exactly what
yeah,
player.
Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely maybe there's maybe the refs are up for the Packers maybe a little bit.
I mean, about darn time.
Wish,
you know what I mean?
but yeah, I mean, like, it's definitely noticeable. I mean, I know this was even a long time ago, but like, I feel like, I don't know if it's just this year, it's just so much more amplified that I'm noticing it. But like, even that Rams Saints game, I still have a picture on my phone of the referee looking right at that pass interference play during that. I don't know. I think it was the divisional of the NFC divisional. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, I have a picture on my phone still of the ref staring right at the play as it's happening. And they're like, there was no PI on that. And I was like, and I don't know why I kept that on my phone, but I was just so upset by the fact that like there was so much like referee bad stuff going on.
Yeah.
And now it still doesn't. And now it's like, it doesn't faze me anymore, but it still bothers me like so much. Cause like, I'm in high school and I'm like, the refs deserve to perish, and you're like, whoa, dude, chill out, it's not that deep, bro. And it's like, but here we are. Let's hope for a change, I guess.
Yeah, it's not that deep till they let Aaron Donald line up off sides and kill Joe Burrow.
All right, well,
or Chris Jones line up off sides and kill
Burrow,
Jake Brown.
He's okay. Well, not this season, but he's okay. He's not dead. He's okay. Aaron Donald didn't kill him that bad.
No, but should have won that game. Jamar was wide open. Never forget.
Hey, yeah.
What?
Look. No, I'm
choking.
My thing is the one thing I hate hearing, and I get it, when fans are like, oh man, don't let the officials matter. They're gonna matter. The games are too close in the NFL. I think it's like 50% of games come down to one score. They're going to matter. So the idea is great on paper. I understand it. They'll just take it out of their hands, beat them by 2 touchdowns. And it sounds beautiful, but that's not how it goes. All right. These official calls are going to matter. So I know I may be alone on that, but I'm okay with reviewing everything. Like the PI thing, for example, I would be cool with teams being able to challenge PIs again. Even if you're not going to overturn but 1 out of 50, like it's okay with me, because that Saints, Rams one, I don't know if it was like within 4 minutes or something like that, but that's like one right there. You challenge that. And that should be, I mean, if that's not overturned, I don't know. I mean, that's crazy. That one should have been overturned. So yeah, like I'd be cool if that was back in the NFL. Same thing with roughing.
Yeah, I was going to say they really should bring that back, because I always complained about certain situations where I'm like, that was not PI, or like that play was just terrible. Like, I don't know where they're catching PI from. And like the idea of like challenging that, being like, refs, you guys suck, like go back and review it. And then they're like, oh wait, he only touched him a little bit. Oh, it's overturned. And then it changes everything. And then next thing you know, the game flips completely upside down because there's no PI at that point. So, but yep. I like that idea. I wish that they would bring that back. Maybe they will. Hopefully they will, because there's got to be something drastic that happens. Maybe in like the playoffs where something like a Saints Rams thing happen again, and everybody like protests the NFL. So 2 things. I think first of all,
my main issue is inconsistency within one game. So, like, using a Lions game, Jawan Taylor lined up offsides pretty much the entire game. And that was a huge thing. Like, week 1, everyone was tweeting about it. It was the first game of the year because, like, it wasn't even a little bit. It was very clearly like Jawan Taylor was offsides. And he was technically false starting. And they didn't call it the entire game. And I was kind of more okay with, I still thought it was stupid because I hate the Chiefs, but I was more okay with them doing that than letting them play all game and then all of a sudden during the 2-minute warning being like, oh yeah, that's a penalty, and just start throwing flags and letting that, like, the guys are going to take advantage of stuff if you let them take advantage of something. That makes sense. Anyone's going to do that. If you're letting me play like hands back and forth with the receiver the whole game, I'm going to keep doing that. But if with 30 seconds left, game-winning throw, game-winning pass, you're going to call a penalty on me for doing something that I have been doing the last 59 minutes and 30 seconds of the game? What? That makes no sense. That's annoying from a player's perspective, fan perspective. So that's what I want to see as a fan. It's just more consistency within one game. Also, I think on replaying, like doing reviews of penalties, I think you have to add a caveat in there where you can't find another penalty on the replay. I think you can only review penalties that have been thrown. So, like, I don't want this guy to be like reviewing a holding call and then them to look like down a little bit and be like, oh, but Aiden Hutchinson tripped a guy, so we'll call that instead. Right. That just gets stupid.
Yeah, I'm down with that.
Okay, so we're all on the same page. We fixed the NFL.
There we go.
Yeah, hey, get us on the board. Get us on the board. Like
Roger Goodell, we've got it all figured out. I am a very, very cheap person. You can afford me, I promise. But let's move on to the positives for the Lions, for Dion here. You guys made the playoffs for the first time since 2015, is that right?
2016.
2016, okay. So it's been a little bit. First time winning the NFC North in the history of the division. You guys won the NFC Central back in 93, I believe, when my parents were getting married. It's been a bit. So what were your reactions to winning that game, being one of the first teams to win a division this year and clinch a playoff berth?
Yeah, I mean, it was great because it was like a lot of what the story has been this year for the Lions, which has felt different, but it's like just finding a way to win it when it feels like everything is going wrong at the end there. Like, that's one of those spots where you guys know it's like when you drop an interception and then the very next play they score a touchdown. It's like, oh dang, he dropped it, they're scoring. Right?
Yeah.
That was that game where it was like, okay, they fumble and John Kaminsky doesn't dive on it. It's 3rd and 27. It's like, oh dang, we're gonna lose this game. And then they have the big conversion, right? They just throw it up to Jefferson, he catches it. So like, that's the one that you lose in that spot because you just lost your opportunity. You had it right there, you were up by 6, and now you gave them the chance to go win it. But the Lions bounced back and they just found a way to get it done. I think it's been a lot of this year is just, even though things like the momentum could go the complete wrong way, they still have found a way to get out of that, which has been the best thing. But yeah, winning division, it was nice because like this Dallas game, for example, while I was upset, man, if that thing was for a playoff spot, oh my goodness, I'd be uploading videos today about that still because that can mean so much, right? Like, so the fact that we already had it locked in, it stinks because I think we would at least got the 2, so you probably got to. I think we could have got the 1 seed, but you still are comfortable because you know that you're in there. And I don't really know what to do with it. It's weird. Like it's kind of like the Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands kind of deal because I don't know what to do with this. Like it feels really weird that we've won the division, but it's also something that the Lions absolutely needed was to get a home game in the playoffs. And look, I don't know who we're going to get, but it seems like it's either going to be the Packers or it's going to be the Rams. So either way, I would love to just see what that crowd looks like at that game. I mean, that thing has to be insane. I've been to was I at the primetime game? I think I was like at one primetime game, and the thing was just nuts in there. So I would love to see what the energy is like for that. So it was weird, but it was awesome to take advantage of it, especially when the division was kind of shaky this year in terms of just record. Like teams are coming on here late, but no one was really great this year. And we've seen times in the past where Packers fall apart with injuries, the Bears, everybody's injured, and we still don't take advantage of it. It was great to just take advantage of it and do it on the road too, right? Go to someone else's house and do it there was the biggest thing.
I'm trying to remember. Did you guys lock that against the Vikings? Right?
Yeah.
That was the game.
With the win. Yep.
Was Nick Mullins starting yet?
He was. That was Nick Mullins starting. Yep.
Okay. So Chus's favorite quarterback.
No,
the Bengals almost found a way to lose to.
No, Nick Mullins is bad, bro. I literally I went to a Steelers Philadelphia Eagles preseason game in 2021, and the Steelers won, and I was happy about it. But Nick Mullins went in as the third string quarterback for the Eagles and literally just blew it for the Eagles completely. And my friend that actually won the hat, the guy that won the hat, was with me in Philly, and his caption for like his going to Philly dump or whatever on Instagram, his caption was Nick Mullins sucks. And so since then it was just like a Nick Mullins dislikement train, because I was like, it's nothing against the dude, because I'm sure he's a great guy, but I just didn't think he was ever that good. So I didn't really understand why they were starting him. But I mean, at least you guys definitely benefited from it, because he kind of went a little pick crazy at one point. He was not throwing real good darts at points in that game.
What?
Go ahead.
You watching that game, and like you mentioned, like Justin Jefferson got that big pass, and I remember watching against the Bengals. Nick Mullins was playing, and there were some times when we went into overtime against them. Ty Chandler had a phenomenal game, and you're just like, what? We're not about to lose to Nick Mullins, which Bengals lose to backup quarterbacks all the time. That is their bread and butter. They will lose to the most random guy off the street. But I was like, we are not going to lose to Nick Mullins. And we didn't. But was there a concern because the Lions were in that slump at the time. People were saying, hey, Jared Goff needs to be benched. I was hearing people call for Hendon Hooker to start, which I'm like, you don't even know what this guy's going to get you, and you want to start him in December when your quarterback is still healthy? When you're watching that game and seeing Justin Jefferson make that pass, and you're like, okay, this is the beginning of the end for the Lions' great season. What are those thoughts like?
Yeah, no, to your point right there, as they say, the backup is always everybody's favorite. Everybody loves the backup. They love the backup quarterback. Then they put him in. They're like, oh gosh, who's this guy? Why do we put this guy? Like, we don't have a better backup than this. I get that, and especially in the first year as a Lions fan, like most of the games that I went to, at some point there was a crowd saying, bench Goff, put David Blau in the game. And the one game I was there where they actually did it, they put Blau in the game. It was like 2 plays in, the dude fumbles. It's like this, it's bad, but it's. I think it's for a fan, like it could be an easy way to kind of get out of like the mess. Is like, man, we just got to change something, and the easiest way to do that is just change the quarterback, I guess. Obviously, we should not do that. For Nick Mullins, and I'll say this: we play him again this weekend. He's going to start again this weekend. Like versus Jaren Hall, versus the options they have. I was kind of surprised they got off of Josh Dobbs after just kind of struggling for a minute there. But Jaren Hall was a mess in the first half. And I'll say, yeah, he was a mess. I see you laughing. He was awful. And I'm watching that and I'm like, dang, this looks like he looks completely lost playing quarterback. However, Nick Mullins, when I watch him, like he can move the ball specifically because it's almost like he gets it to Justin Jefferson. Like as soon as Nick Mullins stepped in the second half, it's like ball's going to Jefferson. He's going to get in the football. So he can move the ball. What you get with Mullins though is you get just like bad mistakes at bad times where it's just like, why did you even try that? Like he's getting sacked, he just throws it up in the air. Was that against the Bengals where he's getting sacked and he threw it, and then the screen that was taken back for a pick six, right?
Yes.
Like you'll get those things where it's like he's moving the ball really well and he's on time. He's accurate. He's kind of accurate for a lot of the part, but then he'll just do something really dumb. And he has just a couple of those moments. So that's been the issue, I think, with Mullins. But as a Lions fan, I'd rather be dealing with Jaren Hall this week because I think from a consistency spot, I don't know what the heck I'm going to get there if Jaren Hall's out there. Only thing with Mullins is he doesn't run, so I guess that helps. But, yeah, I mean, I guess he made a mistake in the biggest moment, too, in that game. I mean, it was a good play by Iffy, but he made this big mistake at the end there kind of forcing that thing. So, I don't know. I mean, look, I don't take Nick Mullins lightly because I know he can move the football and he's going to get it to Jefferson. It's hard to cover that guy.
Well, so Jaren Hall, let's talk about him real quick.
Oh, man.
He backed up Zach Wilson at BYU, so that tells you a little bit. And then the entire game, the Vikings-Packers game, Chris Collinsworth sounded like he had money on Nick Mullins over that he set before the game and then was like, oh, shoot, they're starting Jaron Hall. Because, like, from the beginning of the game, he's like, Kevin O'Connell, we'll see if he can win with Jaron Hall, but I think their best chance to win is really with Nick Mullins out there. So then whenever Jaron Hall threw an incomplete pass, Chris Collinsworth is just like, you wonder how long they're going to let Jaron Hall stay out there before they put in Nick Mullins. And I'm like, this guy, like, he's a rookie. It's not like it's a Tim Boyle or like someone who's been in the league for a while and is just awful. It's like, no, this is his first year. He played terrible, but Chris Collinsworth had no faith in him from the beginning. And you're saying you'd rather go up against Jaron Hall, and I don't blame you, but yeah, Nick Mullins sucks. Jaron Hall sucks. Does Josh Dobbs like worry you at all?
I mean, I thought Josh Dobbs was good. Like, I remember when Josh Dobbs got moved, I was thinking the Jets should have went and got him. I was like, man, if I was a Jet, and I'd like Josh Dobbs from the Cleveland Browns in the preseason. Every time we watch the Browns, obviously Browns games are always on here. I was like, man, I like that Josh Dobbs dude. So when, he got his chance to start in Arizona, I was like, oh, this guy's actually playing pretty well. So I thought the Jets should have made that move. It doesn't sound like they're going to Dobbs. I think Dobbs would give me concern just because he just adds like the unpredictable element to the game where it's like he might just take off and then it's like, all right, everything's kind of breaks down here. But I think Nick Mullins honestly gives me the most concern, truly, because I think, you can expose him by making big mistakes, right? Like he may make some big mistakes in big spots, but if he's not put it in bad spots, like if you look at his interceptions, he racked up interceptions absolutely. However, a lot of those interceptions, they were on like 3rd and 10. It's third down. They were going to punt regardless. So it wasn't like on first down he was giving us the football. He was giving us in spots where it's like we were probably going to get the ball regardless there. We just made a nice play. And then obviously outside of the last one, that was like the really one that, was actually in play. If he doesn't throw that, they still could have scored on that possession. So he gives me the most concern because I know he'll keep them on script. And the big thing for that game was I was very worried about how our offense is going to perform with Brian Flores, but our offense was awesome. And Ben Johnson did a great job in that one. He had an excellent plan. So he's going to stress our offense. But I think being at home, you want to believe that home field advantage with the crowd is going to force him to make some mistakes, especially if he falls into a hole there. So I'm not really concerned about playing anyone. I guess you could say Josh Dobbs because I don't think he's the kind of guy that's, going to give you the football. Nick Mullins, I think, will if he's in a bad spot, and I think he'll be in a bad spot on Sunday.
Hutch is gonna put some pressure on him.
Oh yeah. He's playing against the backup right tackle again. It's probably, and then they got my man CD Deuce or CJ Gardner Johnson coming back. He'll probably take one away too. So
okay,
I expect some turnovers.
Is he leaving the blue ski mask at home this time though?
Man, I kind of hope he wears it under the helmet. I mean, it might be a little hot because we're indoor, but yeah. I mean, if you were to wear that under the helmet, man, I'm with it. I'd wear it if I were him. It's his thing now. Maybe get my little logo on there or something. I start selling that thing. Yeah, I'd make that a brand.
Him about it though, and he was like, that didn't go well the last time I wore it. I'm gonna.
Right. Well, probably. Hey, I think that was the game he was injured, right?
Yeah.
I'm
well, I guess sure. That makes
so
sense. That's why he was like, no.
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Chus, did you have anything?
Yeah. So, real quick, going into the game on Saturday against the Vikings, since we were talking about it, do you think so? There is an outside chance you can get the 2nd seed, correct? If you were to win on Saturday. So even with this outside chance, like you obviously have clinched the division already and whatnot. Do you think that it's a smart idea to start all of your starters on Saturday? Like I don't know where you would think going into that game, but
yeah, no, it's a good question. I don't like I said earlier, like Dan Campbell's definitely playing his starters, and the way that we could get to the 2 seed is we win. Dallas loses to Washington. Philly also loses to the Giants. So it's unlikely, but both those teams are set to play at 4. We play at 1. So we'll get to see those results if we handle business. So, you won't know. You won't know that you're already out of that. I guess they played on Saturday. You could make a different decision. My thing is this. If you're going to play the starters, Decker better be healthy, and he had full participation yesterday. If Decker's not playing, there's no way I'd play golf in this game. There's no shot. I don't want him out there, and I know that's they usually take that. Well, if we're playing the starting quarterback, the offensive line has to play. So if there was pieces missing, I would not play golf in this game. But I also think there is a sense of they kind of want to get whatever just happened, that taste out of their mouth. They don't want to roll into the playoffs with that last thing being their memory. right? And then just being fired up about that, amped about that, and then we out here making mistakes, we fall into a hole, and now we're just lost. I think they just want to kind of settle that. And I think the best way to do it is trying to get a win here at the end. I know every team has a different approach. I guess technically because you can move up, you play your starters. I don't know. Like if it was me, right? If I'm on Madden, I'm not playing my starters. I'm sitting everybody. I want nobody hurt. But I guess it's real life, and I think there's an emotion side to it. And like I said, Dan Campbell told them they would. He said they'd rest when the season's over, like weeks ago. So I think I don't think you can really pull back. Plus, if you're thinking about getting hurt, I think that's when you get hurt. So you're just, you're playing in this game. Everybody's playing this game. And your focus is like, let's just get whatever just happened out of our mouth. And I think you push the players. Hey, we can get the 2 seed. Like it's still there. Those teams can lose. There's no doubt Philly can lose. I mean, they look terrible. And then, maybe Dallas, the Dallas losing to Washington, probably not, but there's a chance. We'll find out though. We don't know the results. So I think, you kind of almost like last year with Green Bay, you knew you were out of the playoffs, but you still went out there to go beat them and knock them out of the playoffs. So I think you just want to get that taste out of your mouth.
Yeah. And Dan Campbell is a very aggressive coach as well. Like you mentioned the Green Bay game, he said, if we're not making the playoffs, then they're not making either. I love that. That's why I love Dan Campbell so much. He maybe goes for it a little bit too much on 4th down, but hey, it worked.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
So what players are you most excited to see in this playoff run? I mean, you guys stole Jahmyr Gibbs from the Bengals in the draft, and he's played a lot better. You've got Sam Laporta has been looking great. Jared Goff is kind of coming out of that slump, which a lot of the NFL playoffs are just who gets hot when, who plays good enough throughout the season to not get eliminated, and then in December gets really hot going into January. So,
right.
Who is exciting you right now?
Well, I think to your point you just made, that kind of just answers the last question, I think, in a way, too. I mean, you saw it as a Bengals fan, right? Getting hot at the right time, rolling through the playoffs. I mean, I guess the Lions could look at it like that, too. Like, we get the win, we got to stay hot. This is when we need to be at our best, so we got to get rolling now before we hit the playoffs. I mean, I'm really excited to see this offensive line as a whole, just because I know it's a lot of what the attention goes to for the NFL is, man, they got one of the best offensive lines. And I think we've seen at times, they're going to have losses. They're not perfect, especially on the interior. But I think we've seen now, like against Dallas, our ability to run the football. I think one of the positives takes away is, okay, there was negatives. They created negatives. Our short yardage, rushing situations were awful. However, we did get a lot of movement in that game. And I think when you have that you can kind of rely on, you start to look at who's in the NFC, right? If you look at any team in the NFC, you throw San Fran in the mix. The issues that they have a lot of times is they struggle in the interior to stop the run. I mean, Dallas, obviously we showed that we can move there. Philadelphia has been terrible against the run recently. Arizona ran all over him. San Francisco's kind of weak in the interior. So every time you look at the NFC, you say that's a spot where we probably can expose them. So how does that translate into this? And then I would have to say Goff, because I think I don't know. Like, to me, I think I know what Goff is, so I kind of just know what I'm going to get out of him. But I also think for Jared Goff, like when I watched, the Dallas game, part of me was like, man, I understand why you didn't want to get in the drop back passing mode against that pass rush, but at the same time, it didn't work too bad. I mean, when you were in 3rd and 10, it wasn't great, but it wasn't too bad. I mean, he had the one interception, obviously the last drive, but when you allowed him to just play drop back and you protected, like, he was actually pretty good in that game. So I'm excited to see what he does, because, it's almost like the Stafford thing in a way, where Stafford had never won a playoff game. Then when he went to the playoffs and, he kind of got that monkey off his back and he was able to roll afterwards. Like, all of the questions about Goff and his future and all those things, go out there and win a playoff game. And I thought ultimately that's what it was going to be here. We're going to be successful this season. We're going to win in the playoffs. And because that, he was ultimately going to be our guy long term, and he would get an extension in some sort because of the run that they put together. And I think when you're winning in the playoffs, it's going to be hard to move off of that guy. So I want to see that. And then really defensively, it'd be the cornerback position, because I think it's the most critical position for us. I think I know what Cam Sutton is. He's not a number 1 to me, but he's solid. But it's also what Kendall Vildor has added. Who the heck is that? But what he's added to this team, he's actually been pretty darn good at corner. And I think he's changed a lot for us. So I want to see how that guy holds up, because like that Minnesota game, he made a crucial stop for us, forced a field goal for Minnesota. That piece specifically, a lot of these teams in the NFC, man, they have 2 good receivers. You need to have a number 2 that can't just get exposed. And in the past, we had that issue. I don't think we have that issue with Vildor.
So, one of the things I've seen Lions fans talk about online, in real life, talking to them, is they say, our defense sucks, especially our secondary. Like, it's awful. And you just mentioned the thing you're most excited to see is some guys in your secondary. And obviously, I think all Lions fans would agree when they're saying their secondary sucks, they're not talking about Brian Branch. They're talking about everyone else. And I've seen people calling for your guys' defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, to be fired, which I thought was really funny because the NFLPA just voted him the best defensive coordinator. So, but I don't think anyone would say you guys are the best defense. Does your defense concern you going into the playoffs, going against potentially the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles offense that has not been the problem? The Eagles' problem has also been their defense. So is this going to be a point where we see the old defense wins championships mantra come true?
So I encourage anybody out there, if they're watching this at the right time, to just go look up the Lions defense statistics, right? Look at the yards per carry, yards per game, do the same thing for pass defense, completion percentage, touchdowns, interceptions, pressure rate, and compare that to the last 5 NFC championship teams, right? And you start to look at it and you're like, man, the Lions are pretty comparable in a lot of these spots, especially the 2020 Buccaneers. They're almost the exact same across the board statistically to what the Buccaneers did when they won the NFC in 2020. And it's crazy because the number, hey, look, it's crazy, but hang with me. Okay, go ahead. Say what you got to say.
Tom Brady?
Oh, no, he don't need to be Tom Brady because it's a regular. I get what you're saying. I hear you there. Right. It's different in the playoffs. Like, for example, like a lot of these teams, like, a lot of it comes back to turnover battle, right? And then you get into the playoffs and a team that was struggling in a turnover battle, all of a sudden is much better there and it changes everything. Like if you look at our losses, it's usually we lose the turnover battle. So it's kind of like that, I guess, for defense too, because you can be really good against the run, then play a team that's really good at rushing the football and you get blown off the ball. And it's like, yeah, your stats for the season look good, but that team got you as a bad matchup for you and they ran all over you. So the real thing for me is this. When I look at this defense, I get what you're saying. I hear it all the time, too. So I try to give Glenn some love. My biggest issue with Glenn at times is we talked about having the trust in your players. I think it trickles down to he believes in his coaches so much that the coaches believe in the players, where to me, and I know I've said this before, I think Aaron Glenn gets overly confident in what his players can handle. So he'll put them in spots where I'm like, let's just maybe not do that. It was great examples, but like when Crystal Olave is one-on-one with Jacobs, I love me some Jerry Jacobs. But at the same time, be like, all right, I'm putting safety up over top. I like Jerry Jacobs, but I'm putting safety up. I'm not leaving him one-on-one. We leave him one-on-one, they score a touchdown. So there's spots like that where I'm like, all right, we're maybe just trusting a little bit too much of what's here. However, my biggest concern with the defense is really the linebacker position because I know what I'm going to get out of Alex Anzalone, and I think we've seen growth from a lot of the linebackers as we continue here towards the end of the season, but it's about those guys being caught up in the mix. Our 2 biggest losses really this season, Baltimore blown out in that game. You had Jack Campbell playing on line of scrimmage. You had multiple breakdowns between those guys where guys were just left uncovered. And I thought that's what got us in that game is, man, we were just breaking down to the second level and Baltimore just attacked that. So, and I think maybe you could say the same thing about Seattle in some spots too. That's the biggest concern, but I think we've seen growth there. So it's about the fact is you don't really have a lot of these spots we have guys coming, right? Ali McNeil's coming. We know he's going to help us. We can already get pressure on the edge. We know Ali McNeil's coming. He's going to help us. But at linebacker, there's no one that's going to come in and make you better. You have what you have. These guys just need to grow up fast, and that's like a rookie. And at the same time, Jalen Mabin's add a little bit there. But outside of that, like, I hear it. The statistics are good, actually pretty darn good on the season. And I think because Vilder, a guy like that, doesn't have a big name. Let's say Kendall Vilder was a 5th-round draft pick this year, and he came in and now he's playing for his first time. Fans would be hyped. Because they'd be like, look, man, we just found our future at corner, right? He's solid at corner. We're good at number 2. But because he's Kendall Vilder, you're like, who in the heck is this dude? He's all right. But he's actually playing really well. So it's kind of like, what's the backstory there? And to me, again, we're not going to wake up overnight and be the Jets at corner. But at the same time, I don't think we need that. We need a backbone, which is we're an elite run defense. We've been for a year and a half. So as long as that's there, then it's about creating turnovers. And if you look at the Lions, recently the turnovers starting to come along. So to the point that I just made, right, about stopping the run versus playing a good team that can run the ball, the turnovers on the season, I think we have like 16 interceptions. It's not bad. But the thing is that recently we're starting to see those rack up and pile up. And that's been a huge part of getting iffy at safety. He's added that to us. He had one against Dallas. That's allowed Kirby to play more in his role. He's had tons of picks. And now you just throw a guy like CD Deuce back in that mix who had 6 picks last year. For the Lions, I think the recipe is going to be that simple. We have to be able to be multiple in coverage, stop the run, and create turnovers. And we're going to be aggressive doing so. So you'll give up some things, but they're going to be aggressive trying to get the ball back to the offense.
That is the most optimistic I've ever heard any Lions fan talk about their defense.
Well, you got the right person for that. You got the right person for that, man. I know. Hey, some people don't like it. Like, oh no, man. But I'm telling you, and I'll say this. I said this, when you said golf slump, right? The interceptions and things like that. Chicago on the road, and I came out, I made the video, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, I'm drawing the line right now, right here. Golf will not be the reason that this team doesn't get where they want to be, because I know who golf is, and you're looking at these interceptions. A lot of times, people will throw statistics or to look at a play, and there's questions. Oh man, look at that guy, he was cooking Sutton. But at the same time, it's a lot of times like we just don't want to put context to anything for some reason. And we're looking at a lot of interceptions. Like, you got to put context to this. I mean, one's a heave, right? One's a 4th down and 10. If he doesn't throw it, what do you just take a sack? Like, is that better that we look back, we say he didn't throw a pick that week? So like, it's kind of that same thing where I feel very confident knowing what we have. So with that, I know that I'm concerned at times at linebacker. I thought I'd be more concerned against Dallas, and I thought they played really well. So I think where my concerns are just what I believe in this team, interior pressure, but Aleem's coming back. So for me, I feel good about corner because I think Vilders added a lot for us, and we're just solid there. We're not great, but we're solid, and we can rely on that. And Branch is an animal, so that's a good point. Branch is an animal.
Chus, what you got?
There you go.
You got anything?
No, I mean, I felt like it was, like you said, a very optimistic take on the entire Lions defense. Because, like I said, very similar to Josh, a lot of Lions fans have been, kind of cropping on the idea of, the Lions needing a better secondary and whatnot. And I personally, don't see the Lions defense as the biggest issue at all. I feel like you guys have a really solid team. So I mean, obviously maybe it's like your weakest point, but I don't think it's like a point that's going to like destroy you guys come playoffs, in my opinion. I feel like there's been other teams out there that have way worse secondaries and offenses and defenses and whatnot that have to deal with bigger problems than the Lions. And I don't think the Lions have any issues.
Let's say what you're going to say. I'm on the radio. Say what you're going to say. I'm here.
Yeah.
No, I think the Lions are good, bro.
I don't know if he's seen that tape.
Okay.
I think he was caught off guard. Did you see that? Have you seen that the Dan Campbell on the radio show?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so you knew what I was doing. All right.
You pulled that on me, but it took me like 2 seconds for it to click, and I was like, bro, no.
For the people listening on Spotify, the fear in Chus's eyes when Dion said that for a second was so like this guy. I just made this guy so mad. He's never coming back. Because like I said, I'm a big Lions supporter. They helped me win my fantasy football championship and beat Josh actually. So
beautiful. Okay.
You just had to.
Yeah, I mean, I had to throw that in there. I mean, Amon-Ra, Laporta, and David Montgomery. You can't beat that. So it's gonna beat that this year. So, but yeah, no, I liked your optimism with it, and I really think you guys are gonna be in a set for a good playoff run. I mean, my dad is a Steelers fan as well, but his dream Super Bowl has always been the Lions and the Cleveland Browns. And he was kind of hoping for that this year. So let's try to make that happen. Hey, listen, the Lions, they both have never won a Super Bowl. They both have had 0-16 seasons. It's time to give one of these teams the glory.
Shoot, neither of us have even been there.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why my dad said that would be his dream Super Bowl. So, and obviously he would root for the Lions to win, but because
that's good.
No love for Cleveland over
Shout
here.
Out to Mr. Lentz, fan of the show.
Yeah, big fan of the show. He's catching up right now. He said he's on episode 132 or something. He's way far back. He's way far back right now. But he told me that at one point you said that Stan was better than me, and I think I'm a little offended that you said that.
I don't remember the context. I plead the fifth.
He did say that, but it doesn't matter. It's literally I don't care. I couldn't care less. It was when I was interning and stuff. So
probably annoyed with you because it was probably one of the weeks the Bengals lost to the Steelers.
And then I just happened to beat you in fantasy that week too because we played both Bengals games when the Steelers won. Anyway, I digress. So off topic.
So, go back to what you said. You said you don't feel like the Lions' worst thing they need to worry about is their defense. What do you think, Chus, that the Lions have to worry about?
The problem is I feel like, in my opinion, with the defense, I definitely think it is something to worry about. But the problem is as long as you guys can stay hot, anything can happen. And that's why I've always kind of been a big believer in that because right now people are believing that the Steelers could go to the AFC Championship. Now, I don't believe that can happen because our secondary is very thin right now because of how many injuries we have. But it's not impossible if the right guys stay healthy, and everything just kind of rolls the same. And I think if you guys just roll the way you will, you can topple anybody. We've seen like miracle teams like make it through in so many different sports. Yet we haven't seen a 7th seed, I don't think, win yet. But I really think that like at a point, like you catch a team off guard one game, like even the San Francisco 49ers, like they're a good team, but at one moment, Deebo Samuel or one of their key players gets hurt in one of the games, just happens to tweak themselves, can't play against you guys one week. You guys, Brock Purdy might be all out of sorts because he doesn't have McCaffrey to throw screen passes to. And next thing you know, you just zoom past the 49ers and you never thought it. So I think it just is a matter of what team is hotter than you in the playoffs at that given moment and keeping your team healthy. And I feel like that just goes for most of these playoff teams because obviously you guys won the division. You have a really complete team. And then just staying consistent nowadays, because like if you can continue the consistency and you try to like make sure you hold on to those leads and whatnot, I think you guys are going to be fine. And I think you guys are doing everything correctly, in my opinion. That's why I don't think you guys need to really worry too much. But
he's picking us to win the Super Bowl. We got you.
Yeah.
We got it. Look,
Whoa.
hey, shout out to Mason Rudolph. Maybe we'll see the Steelers, No.
No.
Old Josh.
I am kind of slightly okay with the Browns winning just because it'll be really funny to watch them go back to Deshaun Watson if Joe Flacco wins a Super Bowl. But
yeah,
that's the only reason why.
But you wouldn't want to see the Steelers. You wouldn't want to see good old Mason Rudolph go against Jared Goff in the Super Bowl.
And you don't want that either because then Kenny Pickett isn't the starter anymore.
But I like Mason Rudolph.
But you like Kenny Pickett.
I like both of them.
Start them both.
Oh, okay.
Start them both.
Wildcat. I'm telling you, it could work. We talked about this in text. Wildcat formation, both out there. No idea who it's going to snap to. It'll be nuts.
We'll take that because anything can happen with that. Literally, you didn't after Nick Foles went and won the Eagles a Super Bowl. He didn't start with the Eagles the next year. So, and Mason Rudolph's only signed for a 1-year deal. So Mason could go and get signed anywhere else if the Steelers don't want to keep him. So it's not a situation where like Mason Rudolph is guaranteed starter. He's only here for the rest of the year. So.
Okay. Well, one last question I have for Dion here as we're starting to wrap up here. My dream NFC championship is the Detroit Lions against the San Francisco 49ers. And to make it to the Super Bowl, you guys are going to have to face the 49ers at some point. You mentioned the Lions' run defense is very good. Can you guys stop Christian McCaffrey, one of my favorite players to watch? I know the 49ers are beatable, but I think honestly Trent Williams has to be injured. All of the games except for the Ravens game that the 49ers lost, Trent Williams was injured or out. So, do you think you guys can beat that Hall of Fame left tackle, first of all? And I can't remember which side Hayden Hutchinson usually lines up on, right or left.
Usually on the right tackle. Yeah.
Usually on the right. Okay, so he won't be facing Williams as much. But you've got Christian McCaffrey, Trent Williams, Deebo Samuel, just the Avengers of an offense in the 49ers. Can the Lions beat that team?
No, I absolutely believe so. And here's the thing, like, I was asked this a couple times, like my top 3 teams I'm worried about in the NFC, and I would always put San Fran at 1. Like it was always like a no-brainer. San Fran's at 1. But honestly, like at this point, like I don't know. I here's my thing. First off, I watched Washington last week, and they kept it close at halftime, and it wasn't perfect. Like McCaffrey still had some good runs in the first half, but they actually did pretty well containing that. And I think for the Lions, their best bet to slowing down a McCaffrey is going to be the defensive back run support, because for them, I think a lot of things that pop up is, if I asked you, like most people, like who's their defensive tackles, right? If without Aleem McNeil, who starts the defensive tackle for the Lions? Most people would have no idea who these dudes are, right? The Lions, Benito Jones, Tyson Alualu's playing last week. Who are these dudes, right? But what the Lions have for them is that it's the third level that's so good against the run, as well as the schematic side where they bring the blitz to stop the run. They created tackles for loss against Dallas. So I think those positions would specifically be the biggest difference, because for McCaffrey like you guys said, with the screens, they want to throw them screens, even if it's not a run play, everything they want to get, like they want to get things horizontal. So how are those guys going to step up? And I have tons of confidence that our defensive backs, they tackle really well. Builder's been another good piece for that. They play the run really well, and that those pieces would actually be the difference there to helping us limit that. But San Fran, I would expect them to put up points, though outside of Williams, I don't love their offensive line. I think you can get pressure outside of Williams, definitely across left guard to right tackle. And then, like I said, offensively, like I think you can run against this team. I think we've seen that. You could run the ball against this defense. And at cornerback, Ward stepped up. He's been massive recently. But there's still questions opposite of that, like with Ambry Thomas and who's also going to play in the secondary. So, yeah, I mean, it's a good defense. The biggest challenge we'd have with San Fran is their linebacker core. To me, that's been our biggest issue offensively this year. And I think, again, I've thrown this theory out there many times on many shows. So here you go. I'm giving y'all this too. My theory is this. The linebacker position and the tight end position are going to be the key spots for the next 3 to 4 years, right? We're going to start to see the growth of this position, how important it is in the NFL for every team because of where the NFL is going, right? Schematically, 2 high safeties, less blitzing, yards per attempt is down for everybody across the league, which has led to, tight ends being so involved because most quarterbacks want to attack the middle of the field. That's where everybody's comfortable. It's rare to see guys tackle. Who has the most? I think it's the most yards outside the numbers. It's Justin Fields. Most quarterbacks want to play between the numbers. So that tied along with who's going to stop that is linebackers. And like we see with the Dolphins, so many of their in-breaking routes, right? So much of that offense, who do they have trouble with? Baltimore, because Baltimore's elite at linebacker. They pick it off, they take it back. And I think that's where San Fran would give us the most problems is that they can make it very difficult to live in the middle of the field. And I think that's where you're seeing the best defenses are showing up as they're elite in the middle of the field right now, like the Baltimore Ravens. So that'd be the big challenge for us. The run game would have to be there. That way we can set the play action and expose those corners one-on-one. But I get you name of the Avengers. But I'll tell you what, I could rattle some names too, man. St. Brown, my man knows, Sam Laporta, Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, there's some problems over here, okay? They don't want to deal with Jameson Williams one-on-one. There's going to have to be help thrown over there because he'll get you for one. We just saw it against Dallas. He's coming along right now.
Donovan Peoples-Jones is going to need that game-winning touchdown in
there you
the
go.
NFC Championship, please, because he's done nothing. We hyped him up so much, and, where'd he go?
Right. No, I mean, look, hey, so I was thinking about this because this was the last show that we did. He's had 3 receptions. He's had 1 in 3 different games. And, 2 of them have been pretty critical. He had the big one against the Bears on, the dig route. Then he had the slant for a first down against Minnesota. The other one was just something underneath. What's happened, I think, too, is the last 2 weeks we haven't seen his snap counts there anymore. He's really dropped off in snap counts. Now, he did have a big block for us against Dallas. And we were able to kind of transition into, instead of asking our tight end to kind of pin down these edge defenders, we put Peoples-Jones in that spot, and he laid a good block, and we were able to get outside of him. So he still has some of that value there. I think for him, it's turning into Jameson Williams snap counts are taking off. So you're seeing that, and the teams that struggle with speed as well. Khalif Raymond is now taking more snaps against certain matchups. I think Peoples-Jones still has a role in this team. I still would like to see more in the red zone. That hasn't really became a thing. We've seen him run routes there. We've seen him in the back of the end zone. We've seen things like that, but it hasn't really become a real role for him. So I think there's a specific route tree that he can run. I still believe that he would run better than Jameson Williams, but at the same time, Jameson is now taking a ton of these snaps, so I don't know that he gets that opportunity unless something pops up. However, it's great to have him in case something does pop up because I would feel fine with Peoples-Jones starting opposite of Josh Reynolds or whatever that may be if we ever needed to go that route. We're just luckily we don't have to go that route right now. So I think it could be big at some point in time, but right now it hasn't really been there. You're right.
I was kind of joking. I joked when you were last on about them kind of using him as a tight end to block, and apparently that's what you guys decided to do. So
there you go.
I don't know.
Kinda did, yeah.
That's all I got. I got Lions going to the Super Bowl. Would love to see another Cat team win. If the Bengals can't do it, Cat teams unite. Chus, do you have anything to add here?
I like that I like your theory with the tight end position because, me and Josh actually had a discussion on how critical a tight end could be for winning a Super Bowl. I don't know if it was it had to have been last year, but it might have been early last year, probably March or something, as our in between before the draft and stuff. So I like that you brought that back up again because I always was a big believer in the tight end position and how much it's grown over the last couple of years, and to see it potentially grow over the next 4 years with linebackers and whatnot, I think that would be really cool because every so often, maybe 5-10 years or so, there's always a change in the game somewhere, and I would love to see it be the tight end. I feel like that would be so sick. So, but that's all I got. I think I'm content.
You guys got a good tight end over there, so I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Move. As long as
Yeah.
they throw it to him. As long as they throw it to him. But he's a good
Yeah.
blocker. So
We got Irv. Our practice squad tight end is better than our starting tight end.
Irv. Shout out to Irv Smith, man. Bring him back
No,
to Minnesota.
Oh, he can go back to Minnesota. We don't want him.
Dang.
He sucks. Okay.
Dang.
What
Wow.
about Drew Sample? Don't you guys have Drew Sample still?
Yeah, so we
Come on,
got
man.
Irv on a 1-year deal. He fumble. I think he has more fumbles than catches. Then Drew's just kind of there. He has the occasional catch. 2nd round pick in 2019, I believe. He's a run blocker. That's the only reason I defend having him on the team.
Yeah,
Tanner
gotta
Hudson's
have
really
those.
been the guy to step up. Practice squad. He was there with Jake Browning, so I think they kind of already had that chemistry. But Tanner Hudson's kind of my dude that we've been rocking with at the tight end position. We need some help. If Brock Bowers falls, I wouldn't be mad about them grabbing him. I doubt he falls that far, though.
Yeah.
But that's another guy. We could have had Sam Laporta. You guys stole him.
Hey,
later on.
I wish Jordan Battle was anywhere else right now, but
Dude,
Yeah.
I love Jordan Battle. Although
okay.
I
didn't know you were gonna get riled up about him. Okay.
Okay. Let's just end the show. Let's end the show. I could do a whole another.
Yeah, I think we need to save a Jordan Battle segment for an episode in a couple of weeks or so.
He's gonna get that interception. Jeff Driscoll's gonna throw it.
Don't you have one more game? You guys got eliminated, so you got one more game left.
One more. Jeff Driscoll. He has almost had a turnover in every game. Okay. No, never mind. And we're ending. Thank you for listening to today's show. If you enjoyed, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. We can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts and on YouTube at No Buts Show. Our social media pages are NoButs_show on Instagram and No Buts Show on TikTok. My Twitter is Josh_Butts_2001. If you would like to reach us, you can email us at bullmoosepodcast2. That's the number 2 at gmail.com. I'm also going to include Dose of Dion 2.0's YouTube channel down in the comments, or in the description. So if you want to go check out Dion's channel, go do that. He's kind of smart, as you can tell. Finally, our spread shop will be in the description, so check out the merch. Once again, if you enjoyed today's show, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, go do something nice for someone.